G'day, I'm Hugh Bowman from the Wealthy Tradie and Action Coach. So this video I'm going to outline how I work with business owners, tradie business owners, to massively increase their wealth by using their business. And you see, that's my real passion, like so much so, I've even written a couple of books on the topic. You see, a lot of tradies go into business for more money and more time, but somehow the reverse seems to happen. And so my big thing that floats my boat is I help tradies, build their wealth, in the order of like 20% per year. That's the average at the moment. So just think for a moment, like take a little bit of stock, what state is your business at? And what state is your relationships at? And what experience are you having with your kids and the experiences you're having for yourself? Are they going well? Are they going as well as they possibly could be? Because that's the whole point of working with someone like me. We talk about the faster, easier, more effective. If you're more clear about those goals and have someone on your back, you're much more likely to achieve them. Now just think about the flip side. Imagine you had a clear goal of where you're going. You knew exactly when you were going to pay your house off or the investments you're going to buy. You knew how much income you needed to make in your business to be able to live the lifestyle you want. Or you know how much money you need to make in your business so you retire by a certain time. See, that's the sort of stuff that we do. And it's not out of reach from you. That's entirely capable. You are incapable to do that. There's no problem at all. I mean, I've been working in this game for like almost 15 years and over 300 clients, and the results are staggering. Many people have made massive improvements, even if they're not computer users, even if they're not accountants and they're not, fantastic copywriters or anything like that. Like the abilities of applying the knowledge you already have can make massive inroads to building your wealth. So let's just start with a little bit about me. Engineer is my background. I've also got a business degrees in financial planning investment, and I've been in business for 15 odd years doing this game. But before that, I actually owned some engineering businesses, and the reality is, I think back about my whole life. I've been working with trades businesses or that style of people right back from when I was a teenager, when I was rouseabouting in the sheds and dealing with shearers, and then I went into engineering and running projects, and I used to design industrial refrigeration jobs, and then I ran the project with a team of tradies. We used to have some fantastic tradies, welders and plumbers and fridge mechanics and electricians. Anyway, that was great fun, and I sort of basically, the way it's panned out is I ended up having too many kids and wanting to keep closer to home, no more flying internationally. And so now, this in Action Coach is all I do is work with tradies for the long term and massively build their wealth. And, outside work, I'm a pretty busy guy. I've got 5 kids about to go into secondary school. So you just imagine, how much spare time have I got? Do I use my time wisely? Do I need to make sure my business is profitable enough? Absolutely yes. So now the next step is I want to introduce you to the wealthy tradie and let's start here. The wealthy tradie, the way it came about, I had the massive knock of life, maybe 6 or 8 years ago, and as it came out, as I was describing, what I'm going to do now, because I had to change a few goals and everything was upheaval there, what came out is that my wealth system, which included a phrase like I call the wealth tracker and things, but I'd been using myself right back since 2006. And someone close to me came to me and said, my coach in fact, and he said, gee, do you do that with all your clients? And I said, well, no, I don't do that. He said, you should. And so that's when it was born. And then I built my system into what I call the Wealthy Tradie System and started giving it to my clients and training them in it. And lo and behold, they started seeing massive results. I mean, the classic one that I use is they all seem to come up with this 3-year goal and achieve it in 1 year. And that happens all the time. So let's dig in to what the Wealthy Tradie System is about and how we can apply it to your business. Because knowing where your wealth is at and what you want personally is the starting point. That's the starting point of working out what you can do with your business. If you don't quite know, what you want a business to look like, well, hang on, if you don't know what you want personally, there's no way you know how big or how profitable, how much time your business allows you to do. So hence you can see the problem there. And it's only when you're squeezed on time or financials then you realise what you need to do with your business. So here we go. I'm going to flip over some pages and show you how it all works. So this is my Wealthy Tradie System. right? And it's a fairly simple system. We only touch on it a handful of times a year, but it's the accountability that makes the biggest results. So I start here with what I call my wish list, Now, we're not very good at wishing. As kids are fantastic. I've got kids who say, why don't you buy a Ferrari, Dad, and drive around the farm? And I go, no, you don't get it. But they say, well, why not? That was in the past. So I call the phrase wish list, what I should have, or what I should be, or what I should do. Think of it like this. And this is like dreams. Like, how good are you at your dreams, knowing what you'd really like to have? I call it the given unlimited time and money, what would you have and do? And reality is that is probably the hardest thing we do. Most people are quite poor at it. I try really hard on this around Christmas time, and I usually have a really good annual goals and start setting some longer term ones out. But this is the challenge. So, we have this for a system and a framework. I help you build up your wish list, because out of some wish list, we can actually choose some personal goals and things. But we do the wish list first, and then we have this tool called a wealth tracker. It's just like a personal balance sheet. It's like given your assets and liabilities, it's like the acid test of what your net worth really is, but it makes you question, what's your business really worth? Oh, that's kind of a bit challenging to work out, but we do that. That's the everyday thing for us. Where's your super at? Is it as much as you want it to be? Or how much are you going to need? It makes you question these sorts of things. What about your investments? What are you investing in now, or what have you, or what do you want to? Do you want to have an investment property? Do you want to buy a workshop for your business? And how long is that going to take? And where are we at in the economic cycle? And when should we pounce on that? What are the factors around that? And where are your loans? And I always talk about the toys because, in my view, people just don't have anywhere near enough fun in their life. You got to make your business work around the fun stuff you want to do. And I can tell you, the bigger your dreams, the more stuff you can fit in. Your business seems to happen, just seems to fit around you. So this is your dreams, and this is where you're at right now on a financial front, right? But out of this, we can start choosing some personal goals. This might be, I'd like to have my house paid off in 4 years. I want to buy a workshop. I want to, tour the Ashes tour in England. If you're keen on cricket, I've got my ski boat. Or what is it that really makes it? And not always about assets, not always about the cost of things. It might be just about time. It's like being able to have a 4-week stress-free Christmas holidays, sit on the beach. If that's what floats your boat, and that's something that you can build up enough passion about and go, you know what, if only I can do that, that would mean I'm happy to work on my business and make my business deliver that to me. That's the point I'm trying to get. So we want to get really clear on these things. And from all the guys I've worked with, and there's quite a few now, we've had some astonishing success out of getting some dreams out of them that they never sort of thought they had. And then lo and behold, we end up with some goals, like a 3-year goal, and they go and achieve it in 12 months every single time. Okay, so what is that really telling us? Probably means that our goals aren't big enough. And if you don't know what goals you should have, it means that your dreams aren't big enough. So that's a bit of a eye opener in the first place. And what happened is that they kind of went and achieved a lot, but then they just sort of didn't go and review it, didn't go and check it off, and didn't go and set new personal goals. And so that's why that was how the Wealthy Tradie System was born, is that we have regular reviews and some accountability around it. So every 6 months, or I sit in there going, right, where are we at with that? Have you achieved that? And what are you aiming to do now? And where are you putting money now? And we're doing the full wealth tracker and things at the same time. And so the impact of this is that I've found that the average at the moment is that tradies are growing their net wealth by 20% per year. And that's in an environment where assets haven't been going up. So I am pretty impressed with that. And this is what I am so very, very sure that's going to work for you as it does for the people I already work with. Right, so that's the Wealthy Tradie System. And how it fits together is that, this is the wealth system. Let's get into the business system. This is where the money starts coming. This is where the business growth comes in. Because let's face it, the business is probably the feeder of the cash and for your personal life, right? So what are the 6 steps to growing your business? And this is not just something I've dreamt up in the back room. This is part of ActionCOACH. I mean, ActionCOACH has been around 30 plus years, and the systems and frameworks, and this is one of the framework I'm going to show to you. They've been proven and tested. 15,000 people a week are using these frameworks. Like, they are guaranteed to work. And if this is the path we go, like if you find yourselves, not addressing these 6 steps that I'm going to lead you through, if they are you cut the corners and don't do them properly and move to the next one, you will find your business will stop growing. You will have to go back and address every single one of these steps if you want to get to the very top. Let me explain with you how it all works, because each one of these steps has a whole lot of components. And we talk about right down here, there's certain things we've got to master. We talk about mastery, and this is the biggest bar here because there's the most in it. And the good news is that once you achieve mastery, for trades businesses, they just naturally grow. So the big one, and I call that step 1. So step 1 is just mastery. And usually businesses here, they're stuck in a form of chaos. They're kind of putting out fires quite a lot and things, but once you've achieved that, we move up into what we call niche. This is where the marketing is and the money starts coming in. So we're gonna run you through niche 2, and we're gonna show you the impact of what your unique selling proposition is and all the components of marketing. And once you get through niche, we talk about leverage. This is like systematizing your business. Like, if you don't have great systems, there's no way you can take the next step. And of course, once you've got good systems, you can employ team to run the systems. Think about the McDonald's principle. They usually employ a whole lot of really young people, but they've got such good systems that they can get anyone, my 15-year-old son, to run them. So wow, that's pretty good. Once you have a great team, sorted out, you can start thinking about, it starts giving you some synergy. Think about another workshop or another office, or being able to step out a bit more out of your business. And now that's when you've really got a well-oiled machine, we call that. And above that, we're talking about like serious results. This is like investor level. You've got a business, you're just sitting on the outside, just ticking the boxes and making sure the profit comes in. So let's dig into each one of these so we can understand them. We're talking mastery. This is the foundations of your business. Right, so you think about, you start a new business, or you're in a fire, where are you going to? Like, if you don't know where you're going, there's no way you can get there. So everything else below you, like all the people below you, all the systems below you, they probably pretty weak too. So if you don't know where you're going, there's no one else in your business can either, then chances are you won't be performing. So first step of mastery is get clear of what we want. Even if it's just a 5 or a 3-year goal, that's enough. And be able to describe it, like call it a vision, and the aim is to wrap up, get all your staff to understand where you want to go, because they might be able to help you get there. Like, let's face it, it's not all about you, it's about the whole group of the organisation you've built here. Even if there's only 2 or 3 of you, you still need to know where you're going. Right, so you've got to nail that. You've got to nail what we call financial mastery. Now, there's lots of different levels of this, but the basic is just know your numbers, how much profit are you making, sales and expenses, and the accounting system does a lot of that. But the next level it is, well, what's your break even for your business? What's your profitability for your business? What different parts of your business are more profitable than the others? And what are the key metrics that make your business work on the financial level? So this, I often find financials is a very weak spot with most tradies. They're kind of like somewhat shocked to say, yeah, I want to talk financials every month. So guess what? We go to the bookkeeper and say, we want financials every month. And they give it to us, so we can talk about it. But increasing your understanding around financials and what we call mastering it is the fundamental, it's the blocks to which you can grow your whole business on. Financial. Now, time. Now, this is your time. You see, we've all got the same amount of hours in the day, but it's how you use the time has a big impact. I mentioned to you before, I've got hugely busy outside work. I can't tell you how many hockey matches and scouting camps I've got to go on, and soccer matches, trainings, but how do I fit it all in? Like, say, I want you to start assessing, where you use your time and where you use it poorly. We've got some tools out there that really help us, like, we have skill fund matrices, and we have, default diaries, and we, even the simplest way, we just, let's think about applying a dollar value to what you do in your business. Like, do you go down and service your trucks? Do you do your own bookkeeping. And the classic one for every tradie I know virtually is they just love working on the tools. Working on the tools at $100 an hour might be working against the business because you're not working on the business. So that in itself is like a bit of an eye opener. So we need to look at what you're really doing and where you're spending your time, and getting that right. You got to work out who we can delegate to and things that you can systematise and things you can just not do. So bringing your team into this, it has a big impact. To use your time better means that your team probably have to lift their game, which means you might need to retrain them or give them a better job role, and so there's a bit of leadership going on in there. Right, delivery. So you think about this. How well do you document your guys to deliver how you want them to do the job? Now, sure enough, you've probably got expectations around quality. That's one thing that should be documented. I want you to make sure the screws are always straight like this and there's no offcuts like that and the gaps in here, and you think about that. But other things like how you address the customer if you happen to be like a painter going to their home. Where do you park your car? How do you speak to them? Is there any rubbish left on site? There's a whole range of things that you probably expect as a good tradie and as a business owner, you to represent your business as well as you want. Like you want them to wear the shirt with the badge on it and not have silicone all over it or grease all over it, even though it's the first job of the day. So we're talking about the system. It's not that hard, but to document how you expect to deliver the service that you do. And without these, there's no way your business can grow. Like if you don't deliver a good job, you don't get referrals, you don't get called back. If you can't have great financials, you don't know if you're making money or not. Problems, your time, you get smashed. And if you're working so hard in the business, I'm sure there's someone outside your business, like your family, are probably not that happy, and knowing where you go. So that's the things you need to nail and master, and you probably appreciate that's how tradie business can just naturally grow. But let's take the next step now. Let's really look at the niche, because this is where numbers come in. This is the fun stuff. We can't go into too much depth, but we can if you'd like. So we call it niche. Another word for it is marketing. So a key part of that is knowing what's your unique selling proposition. It's a bit consultant jargony, but I say it like this. Why should I get you to do my job? I've got 3 plumbers. You all say the same things and the price is about the same. Why should I do your job? Why should I get you to do my job? And most people have a pretty dismal response to that. Like, oh, we do good service. I go, yeah, everyone says that. Oh, we do good work. I'm really, we do good quality. I go, yeah. So that's not quite enough. You need to go, bang on. We are experts in doing decks and pergolas because that's all we do, and we've got a proven system and training program that we do to make sure we give the ultimate service and product the outcome. Anyway, so you need to be really clear about why I should choose you to do your business and who you should be targeting. And so once you get that right, I can tell you, profit starts coming your way. It's a big call, but it's absolutely true. So getting the USP right isn't done. And the next one is we start talking about the 5 ways. So we're talking about the 5 ways to grow your business. This is where the numbers are in here. So I'm going to whip through this. So rather than just thinking about increasing prices and that will increase your profit, think of it, we break it down into a lot of different areas. We go, well, right, given you the sort of how many leads you've got, leads times the conversion rate equals how many customers you have. Given the number of customers times their average dollar sale, that's the average invoice size, times the number of transactions per year, so this is like repeat customers, equals your revenue. And revenue times your profit margin equals your profit. And so our aim is the ones in green here is what we're going to work on. We're going to have strategies to work on them. And that's going to have a big impact. So even when we're talking about just leads themselves, so I asked a lot of tradie guys, how many leads are you really getting? Like how many are you getting per month or per year? Let's multiply that. And they usually don't know, right? And so that's the first step. We need to know how many leads you're getting. So how many leads are you getting and where are they coming from? Because, if you're getting, for example, 40% of my leads come from a website, it justifies me working on my website. If most of your leads are from referrals, you say, well, maybe we should have a referral system in place to get more of them. Or if you're getting them from social media, maybe we should have a strategy around improving your social media. So I talk about leads. I expect a good tradie business, or just a medium-sized one, a good one, but they should have at least 4 to 6 lead generating strategies that are working for them and measured. So I want to collect the data so we know where to put our efforts. Like a business I did work with, or I am working with now, they were doing radio ads for like a year and they got no leads ever. And I go, well, let's stop paying the money. It wasn't working. Right. So leads conversion rate, the next big thing. So a lot of people don't kind of realise the power of the conversion rate. The power of conversion rate is that, I often increase conversion rate with businesses that I'm working with, like by 20 or 30%. It's hugely powerful. So conversion rate, most people go, they usually think it's about 80 or 90, and it's really about 50. But still, at 50%, it's actually quite a good range to be in. But what are the things that improve your conversion rate? What strategies can we employ? So the classic ones are these, like having a sales process, answering the phone call and following up was worth a gold. Like having a portfolio or having a good incoming call scripts is worth heaps. And I talk about testimonials and we talk about Google reviews. Like these are the things, like I mentioned to you before, if we had like 3 businesses side by side and this one over here had a price on a piece of paper on a quote, and this guy here had, oh, by the way, look at all these testimonials and these Google reviews, and he followed me up and he notified me when he's coming to visit, and so he knew that I would be there. He appeared really professional. The lady who answered the phone was awesome. They booked us in and set me meeting appointments and sent me SMS reminders, and holy moly, this guy looks like he's running a professional operation and it's the same price. Guess who am I going to choose? The guy who looks and appears the best. And this is where the opportunity lies with trades, because there's a lot of sloppily run trades businesses out there. So you only need to be a step or 2 ahead of everyone else and you get all the work. So that's worth gold. 20 or 30% guaranteed every single business I work with. Lead generation is probably just depends on how much effort and money we put towards it. Right, average dollar sale. So what do you have a tick off list, or what's your value add for every customer? So think about, what's your fries with that? Or, you buy a phone, do you want a screen cover? Or everyone's got extras, but depending on the business. Like, if you're a builder, you don't quote $1 million house and they say, hey, would you like a garage? Because you include it all, right? You're already doing that. So, but lower dollar stuff, like, I've got an electrician who goes in and, does some home repairs, and they're saying, would you like us to check your smoke detectors? Would you like to blah, 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 check your leaf leakage. So would you like us to check your external lighting, sensor lights and things, because they always seem to break. Like, there's got some sort of add-on often when you're in front of the customer. And so what's your system around that, Repeat customers. Now, let's face it, trades business are generally repeat customer businesses, and that's the gold about them. I mean, you don't build a house and get many repeat houses, I must say, but people do come back and do from a bathroom, they do a kitchen, and they do a something every handful of years. That is quite common, but smaller businesses, absolutely, there's a lot of repeat in there, especially when it comes to plumbing and electrical and the common sort of trades, right? But, so what strategies do you employ to increase your number of transactions? So we're talking like, just a sticker on a hot water service makes a big difference. Do you have an SMS reminder call? Do you do you stick your card in the electrical switchboard so that, as soon as, guess what, every time your power goes off, people go and open the switchboard and look at it and go, oh, that's right, there's LJ Berger, I'll go and give him a call. Right, so you should have those. And of course, profit margin. So, the big ticket items, you've got to know your profit margin, of course, but, what are the strategies that we're going to employ to increase your profit margin? I mean, when we've got a system around this that has like 50 for each of these, but with profit margin, the big ticket items is pricing, productivity, purchasing, and they're the huge ones, and especially for trades rate businesses. And so, but they're quite big. I mean, productivity is like measuring every single staff member and knowing what they're billing and knowing what they're billing out, and markups on all the different products and services. And the pricing is pretty complex too, because you've got different size jobs and systems employed in that as well. And so the aim with this is that we'd go out of our way to try and improve, I mean, generically, even if we only made 10% improvement at each of these 5, the numbers compound, and becomes really exciting. And a number that keeps coming up, if I was going to put in 10% in each of these top 4, revenue goes up by 46%. Like, it is a big impact, and that seems to appear quite often in about a year with a lot of businesses. Yeah, sure enough, if you're a $5 million business, you don't grow by 46% in a year in a trades game, but you can still grow quite a bit, and smaller businesses grow more. So that's the niche. Next step, above niche, we've got to start getting into systems. So let's whip into this. Leverage. Because if you've got great systems, it means you can get people to run them. And you stop having to put out fires because people just follow the system. You teach them what to do, then they go and do it, and you can't complain, right? So, first step, people and education. Right. So this is this is like about training people and having systems around, educating them and improving. There's a whole raft of systems around how you can leverage your team and people. Delivery and distribution. So do you flowchart your delivery process? Do you have, do you test and measure everything? So I'm talking about sales and marketing and productivity, and if you can measure that, you're going to improve it. And technology, of course, is the big thing now. We're talking about job management systems. I mean, everyone's got one of those, but accounting systems, everyone's got one of those. How is AI playing into that? Like, a lot of them already have AI built into it, but I was just talking with a client the other day. He's taking photos of ovens and he looks it up on Google Images and it goes, oh, there's the brand and the model, and I can quote it over the phone. The repair part. Like, it's magnificent what you can do with it. But there's lots of technology around, underground, photographic technology to, like, there's any number of inventory systems, like things like that. So building systems in the business, like we depends on where you're at and what's the most important. But these two are the biggest for sure. But having systems around team and building their skills and abilities is going to have a huge impact. Right, next one. Because that feeds us into the next one, by the way, because these are systems for your people. But here it is actually building your team. Like, what are the keys to a winning team? And of course, if there's only one of you, you're down the bottom. But once you start getting 6, 8, 10 people, you're saying, well, team is becoming more important. And so here we go. Let's start. Leadership. So without a common goal, without really leading your team, they don't know where to go. They just do what they're told. They just do the next thing, or they presume you know what you want to do. But I can tell you, to really up the ante on your team, you need to have a big goal. And your team have to be reminded of it all the time, because they kind of can be a bit like, we sort of forget. So you've got to do the reminding. So leading. Next one is recruiting. So I help a lot of people recruit. Like, every single person needs a recruiting at some point in time. In fact, that's the nature of business. Your game in business is recruiting and retaining people, and your business cannot grow unless you don't. So how do you systematize this so it doesn't take an enormous amount of time and you increase the likelihood of getting the right person? So I just started with someone recently, and they put a job ad up, and they got like 700 applicants, and they were going through the emails trying to choose them. I'm thinking, this is killing me. Do not do this. Just stop that right now. So we have a unique system that I can lead you through, like a flow-charted system that it implies buy-in. It's got, we invite them to group interviews, and we make them jump some hurdles, and we make them learn more about us, and make sure they want to work with us before, we actually put any effort and time into them. So having a great recruiting system is the starting point. And people who complain about having staff that are difficult or not good enough, it might come back to here as one of the places I'd look. Right, so once you recruit someone, is onboarding, because there's nothing worse than putting a new person on and they don't succeed. Like, the phrasing I use is that now that you've got here, I reckon you're the right guy for us. How do I make sure you're successful in your introduction to our business? Right, so having great training and a system around onboarding, and like, how are we going to move them through the business? How are we going to teach them all the expectations? How are they going to understand the way we do business? So that's crucial too, because the common problem I come across, people say they start good and then they're not good. They started really good for the first 3 months, and then they just seem to drop the ball and go, I don't think they dropped the ball. I think you dropped the ball, buddy. Right. So onboarding system, important, and it's got to be documented, written up, and we need someone to help run it. Like, you've got an admin sort of person that helps along the way. Right. Setting your culture. in some ways, this is the most important thing for every business owner. Like culture and strategy is like the number one thing. So the culture in your business is because what you're doing. So how do we cement that in there? Like I call about culture, right? Another phrase I use is I call it the rules of the game. The rules of the game seems to work really well with tradies because they're sort of a bit rulesy, you start work at 7 o'clock and you don't use phones for more than 2 minutes and you blah, blah, blah. You treat cars like this and you fill them up with fuel when you're finished and what are the things that drive you nuts with your guys, and it links with culture as well, you need to have that documented. That's sort of part of your onboarding system. Like we need to lead people through it. You don't wait until they do the wrong thing and then you're tapping on the shoulder saying, buddy, that's not how we do it. Talk about making them feel bad, right? So let's document the culture, then you can hold people to it. That's the aim. Right, and the next step is you've got to have an action plan. So what is an action plan? It's like, this is the goal for the quarter or the 6 months or year, whatever it is, and these are the steps you're going to go through. I want you to focus on this, focus on this, focus on this. This is the outcome I want. Like you need some sort of an action plan with the steps to help them get there. It might be in 3 months, we want to have a profitability like this. Or in 3 months, I want you to be able to use this new laser welder. And these are the things I want you to do along the way. I've started admin people and said, within 3 months or 6 months, I want you to nail the accounting system. You need to use my CRM, and I need you to be able to use Excel to this level. And so now that's the trajectory. They should get to that point and know full well whether you're going to ask them to stay on, because if they've ticked every box, it's pretty easy, right? So everyone needs to have an action plan and review processes. Now we're talking about who hates staff reviews. Everyone hates them. Most people don't do them very well. But unless you have a good review process, you don't actually get the feedback. You don't actually understand what their goals are, what your staff goals are, and where they're trying to get. And this is the retention strategy. If you knew they wanted to become an expert at doing safety switches and you're an electrician, or you wanted to become good at doing rough-ins, or you wanted them to be able to do maintenance work, if you knew that as a business owner, you go, oh fine, I'll just get you to that work too now. You can work with Bob over there. So it's, in many ways it's quite easy, but they're quite happy because they're getting the skill build that they want. You make them feel valued. This is when you really listen to them, right? And part of that is like what we talk about, support risk taking. Sure enough, you've been in business a long time, you probably know how to do things well. But unless you, let them have some input, they're going to think, well, I don't get any input, and therefore it's not my fault. I'll just do that, and I can do it half-assed, and if it goes wrong, it's not my fault, right? So that's not a win, is it? So you need to be able to sort of say, well, we support risk. If you can try that out, but if it doesn't work, I want you to do it this way. And it means that they're involved in the business. They're kind of buying into where you're going. And the thing that really pulls all these things together, I talk about the regular team meetings. Now, this is not just a toolbox for 10 minutes and a toolbox here and there. I'm talking about, every, first Friday of the month, we're having our team meeting. It's going to last an hour. There's a structured agenda. We're going to hit off things like, our culture statement and where the business is going, and feedback from customers, and what are the things we need to work on as a team, and organising holidays, and who's on the on-call roster for the next month or over Christmas, and so really effective team meetings. And I've got a great friend, a client of mine, who's now become a friend. Like as soon as he started, Tim, he started doing regular meetings. All of a sudden, a whole lot of his issues went away. It was just fantastic. It's music to my ears when people actually get serious about this. And now, the other part of it is that you may not know about is that it's like 100% involvement. Like we've got an agenda. I actually, as a business owner, I want you to give the agenda to the other people so that they can run the meeting. You're participating, of course, but give them the opportunity to run it. Give them, so when you're not there, they can still have the meeting. That's a really important part of it, because I want you to be able to listen and understand and include people, because I can't tell you how many team meetings I've been to see, and the boss gets up and talks, and all the guys start looking down and don't listen. They don't hear a thing. So, you need to put it on them. Like in your culture statement, what's number 2? How have we been maintaining that? Oh, I don't know what that is. That's a really big part. Involvement comes in here. Right. So we're getting up the levels now. quite a lot in here. So synergy, we're looking at number 5. So this is once you've got the team nailed and you're jumping up into what we call synergy. This is a well-oiled machine. This is a business that is humming along really nicely by itself. Like, I mean, this is where you could open another workshop, or you could go to another town, or things like that. And I might say that's a pretty dangerous thing to do when you haven't ticked off those steps down below. And I've seen that lots of times. And all of a sudden you've got 2 problem businesses, and then all of a sudden your time is getting smashed because you haven't got the right organisational structure to support each of the businesses on their own. So, but if you're really at synergy, this is well within the scope. And I mean, you can actually step out of the business. I don't mean step out, gone and works by itself, but step out for a period. You're still a leader. You still need to lead the business, but that's where the 3-month thing comes in without too much trouble at all. So that's synergy. And once you've achieved that, this is where the results really come to key. And this is I guess the ultimate action coach philosophy of a business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. So up here, that you're getting real results because you're effectively like an investor. It's working without you absolutely entirely. This is where you can buy other businesses and you can choose to work or not. So this is in all honesty, a place where most people who come to me are not here. They're all on the previous ones, and because they're in the game of trying to grow and improve their business. So we've covered an awful lot of content today, and there's a lot of steps in there and 2 key frameworks. And so you're probably feeling like, gee, that seems like a lot. But what I can assure to you is that these systems are guaranteed to work. They are used all over the world. They can absolutely help you. So the promise I can make to you is that, if I can sit down with you and we can look at what stage in these frameworks you are and deal with the frustrations that you've got at hand. And I'm hoping we can lay a path of things that you need to do to get to wherever your goal hopes to be. So I hope you found that really interesting, and thank you very much for listening. I can absolutely look forward to meeting with you and showing how this can help you out. And, who knows, down the track we could quite easily be working together. But till then, bye for now.